The second presentation in this panel is entitled, "It Helped Us Translate Scientific Terms in Our Native Language That Our Own People Understand." And that presentation will be led by Sithembiso Nkosi. So a little bit about him. Sithembiso Nkosi is a teacher at Amazondi Secondary School at Nkandla. He holds an honors degree in agricultural economics obtained at UniZulu and currently studying towards a professional education qualification with UNISA. He is the teacher liaison officer for the school with the responsibility of developing programs that enhance learners' leadership development. He also communicates learners' issues to the school management. These responsibilities are achieved collaboratively, working with the Representative Council for Learners. Sithembiso is a co-founder and partner of Open Futures organization, which aims at giving rural and township youth new realities for their future. The organization focuses on entrepreneurship and technological skills development. He serves the organization as its programs director. He has worked with various youth and student organizations nationally, including Black Management Forum, Enactus, Peer Education, Brightest Young Minds, amongst others, and served in various leadership roles. Sithembiso's passion is social development, assisting young people to realize their abilities, talents, and using them to explore opportunities available for both personal and others in growth and development. Please welcome Sithembiso. Sithembiso will have a few other individuals accompanying him on the panel as discussants. We've already heard from Ms. Gugule, but she will be invited back. So you're welcome to join us. If you would like to come up now. Is Shivani here? She left, okay. And then Lindsay McCarver. And then we will now introduce Carson Phillips. Carson Phillips is currently pursuing a Master of Arts in Educational Policy and Leadership Studies at the University of Iowa. He received his BA in Sociology and Afro-American and African Studies from the University of Michigan in 2014. Carson traveled with Dr. Hanif to South Africa in 2012 and Jamaica in 2013. As a result of his time with the Pedagogy of Action program, Carson continues to remain interested in issues of equity and inclusion. Please welcome Carson as well. But now I will hand it over to Sithembiso.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm gonna talk on the perspective of peer education. So in 2007 I enrolled at UniZulu and I joined peer education under the HIV/AIDS program unit. So there our responsibility was to ensure that we advocate for better living and the understanding of HIV/AIDS as the university was facing high statistics in the country of learners being infected and affected by the disease. So we entered into the program, many of us, and one of them is here, Kia Leboga. Yes. So, in peer education, we had workshops from various organizations that were conducted for us to understand what is HIV and AIDS. How can we preach, or how can we share the message with other students? But during those workshops, there were questions that we had which couldn't be answered. And there was scientific terminologies which were very difficult for us. And the people conducting the workshop also could not clearly explain to them. So we would go out there with the responsibility of sharing this information And also the burden that we carried mostly was that during the time we came in, peer educators were the most trusted group in the university. So students would come and confide in us. But the challenge was to explain to them, and we ended up being the support structure. And then we were introduced to POA, the Pedagogy of Action module. And the Pedagogy of Action module simplified everything for us. It's just simply taught us that we need to forget about all these scientific terminologies, because our university, it's comprised of students from really from deeply rural areas who come to university and see the computer for the first time, who come to university having been taught at school for 12 years in isiZulu, in Sesotho, in Venda, and English, it's a foreign language. As much as they understand that English is the medium of instruction, it's the international language, but they've been taught in their native languages. And the module had activities, as it was taught earlier. So those activities are engaging. It leaves you with a picture. So it makes you pictures the realities and the facts and surrounding HIV/AIDS. And also during our time as peer educators, there were meets around the country that we were confronted with questions. Most of the male students are deeply cultural in our university. So they will take those myths as real. So we were faced with the questions of explaining whether if I sleep with a very young girl or a boy, do I really get cured? If I sleep with a virgin, do I really get cured? If I sleep with an old woman or an old man, do I really get cured? So those were the myths and the stigma of being cursed if you are HIV positive. It was a curse, and you were cast out of your family. You were recognized as a person who has brought something that's a very bad thing in the family. So around black communities, it was difficult and challenging during those times. But the great part of it about the module was that the activities, if you teach it or if you share, it's not the teaching, it's the sharing of information. And it calls for you to empathize with the people you are engaging with. So you come down to their level and you understand their economic issues, their psychological issues, the emotional factors that are within the society. So we went back to our communities. There were a lot of programs running in the country. There was Soul City, there was Love Life, there were Soul Buddies. But later, those governmental programs were reported as failing to address the issue of HIV/AIDS. And also it was just after the banning of Yizo, which was funded by the Department of Education and the Department of Health, trying to bring young people into thinking about the social ills that make them end up doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So there were a lot of programs going on. And the pedagogy of action module just conscientize us that we need to empathize rather than thinking of one capsize fits everyone. So it's not a once-off solution. It's a process, and if you keep on engaging people, they understand what is really happening and what we are really facing. So I would say that currently, personally, I as a teacher, I came at my school in 2013, and 50 of the girls were pregnant. 95% were HIV positive, with 75% of the kids dying. So most girls are losing their babies because they are young. They are between the ages of 13 and 18. So I took ownership of the life orientation subject from grade 8 to 11. And I incorporated under the health education the pedagogy of action module. And in 2014, 23 girls were pregnant with 20% HIV positive. And however, with the death of their children, it's still hard because these kids are still not completely matured in their reproductive systems. So it's more about sharing than teaching, and also empathizing with the people that you are engaging, and understanding the factors that impede communication. Because what we are aiming at is that, like it has been said before, it has to be a will between the one who's helping and the one who's receiving the help. If there's no will between any parties here, the program will not be successful. And effective communication is important. So as the person who's sending the communication, it is important to understand the factors that are going to hinder the communication to be effective. Because at the end, the person whom we are communicating to, we are looking at them to play a positive role and take positive action and make change. And the pedagogy of action module responds to one of my philosophies that we shouldn't be trying to change behavior. Rather, we should be influencing the mind, because if we influence the mind, there's what we call consciousness. So the mind is every time thinking. Whether you like to think about it, at times it just comes back to you, and you keep on reconsidering your actions, you keep on reconsidering what you are doing. So effective communication calls for us that we need to forget about all these scientific texts that are hidden in research, that are hidden in the books. So it's like Misha said last night. She can write the book and don't teach the module as she does. But this is engaging. This is making people being part of the solution rather than being out there and taking and seeing no positive results. So at the end, the module is really a positive response, and it's what South Africa needs to ensure that we achieve the MDG goals. Because this year our president reported that we have failed in most of the MDG goals. So we are still behind in literacy. We are still behind, we haven't gone far with HIV/AIDS. we haven't gone far with child mortality, but the pedagogy of action is the program that I believe that our leaders need to adopt and ensure that they drive it in the programs that they are developing, so that we can achieve the results that we want to achieve as a country. So with me, that is what pedagogy of action has been. Effective communication that ensures that I play a positive role and be part of the solution. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm glad to know that Stay is working. I thought you had to get out of Ghana to begin working. Kudos to you. One of the important things he has mentioned, and it's sticking with me, is the fact that the module, when it was introduced, simplified things. And earlier on, I mentioned about the fact that we have evidence of people who are very proud to be community workers now because they have been empowered. HIV/AIDS, by its very nature, used to be all-consuming, to the infected in particular. I say used to be, because today, I don't know, where I live, I can hardly notice that people are HIV positive. But I used to notice that all the time. It ravaged the body so much that it was evident. And it killed the spirit of joy. Because once you lose joy in life, then your soul is no more. And then it also attacked the brain. So you were like a living dead. And because of the various interventions, and in South Africa-wide, I need to mention this again, because of the POA intervention and all the other wonderful work that has been done over the years to combat the scourge, everybody is normal. I don't have to look at you and because you're a little bit overweight and think it's because maybe you are taking ARVs. No. You are just a person, you are alive, and you have joined the throngs of people who say, hey, I've been there, done that, and here I am in the world of the living. The work that everybody involved in this program is doing is, to me, very significant. Being part of the PAO alumni, I consider myself one. Somebody talk about the T-shirts. I have them for all the years. I have a wardrobe where they have. I love them to death because most of them have my name on them. But what does that mean? What it should mean to every one of us is that God showed up, which is a privilege. And the process of accepting the privilege and being alert and doing something with the privilege is up to each one of us. What is that process? It's the process of showing off. With that, I hand over.
I want to talk a little bit about my experience with the module. I was introduced to it towards the end of 2013 in Misha's class, and we did it in Detroit, and various other students did it in areas surrounding Detroit, maybe Ypsilanti, things like that. And while we weren't translating it into different languages, we were translating some of these terms into things that people could understand for themselves. And so my group did it in, we went to the Horizons, and they are a group that serves HIV positive and at-risk youth. And we taught them, and they're used to talking about HIV in scientific terms, but we were there to kind of bring a different way of talking about it. And one of the really special people there was Irvin. And over again, you know, we had to say, no, Irvin, it's not opportunistic infections. We're just talking about this collection of diseases. And by doing this, we always go into communities not to teach them and leave it there, but we bring a tool so that they can own it and take it to their communities. And by doing this, he was able to hold that information and then return to the University of Michigan to teach a lot of the students who are in this room right now. And you know, bringing us together in this way and having this sense of solidarity that it's not just the University of Michigan students who hold the knowledge, who bring it out, that these community members can bring it to their communities and bring it into the University of Michigan. I think that really demonstrates that process of allowing people to be a part of the solution, of you know, meeting people where they're at and being able to transfer that information on. And it does create a place for dialogue, so that people aren't just memorizing slogans or, you know, easy 1, 2, 3 steps. And so I think this really allowed us to come together, and someone described yesterday as a radical love of the community. And I think this was a really beautiful way to put it. And we're very lucky to have all of us come together.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. So I know we're running a really long time, so I'll be quick. Thank you all for the great talk. I just want to focus a little bit on my own experience with the module and thinking about understanding the basics of HIV. As with many at the University of Michigan, I entered pre-medicine. I was going to be a doctor, you know, work in a hospital. And I sort of shifted, which is good because I did not understand any of the science that I was learning. So I remember, you know, sophomore year, I get into Nisha's class, and we're going over the module, and I have an opportunity to learn it. And you know, for me, I really struggled in chemistry. I think that's, you know, part of the difficulty. But when we talk about a lot of these things, especially in the classroom within the academy, I think the thing that I find is most troubling is that we speak about in these scientific terms about the lived experiences of others that they can't even relate. I mean, they can relate to it and they can explain it, but they can't understand the science behind it. You know, we use this terminology that sort of, you know, is in a sense, it's just a flexing of our muscle, of our academic muscle, you know, of our intelligence. But the reality is, we can't actually speak on behalf of what it means for that body to actually be experiencing it. We can explain the science, but we really can't explain the emotions and the struggle and what that really means for that human to be going through that. And for me, I think that's what I find most interesting about the module, is that it creates that opportunity for individuals to sort of to understand the science and, you know, relate to the basics of it, but also to be able to explain and incorporate their own lived experiences into the module. I think one thing that I struggle with and that I think we need to also understand is that as Americans, we are very much so complicit in the hegemony of English. You know, we are very much so also somewhat invested in that. And I think that as we think about the module and as we think about our own time with it, we need to also keep that in mind. You know, the way that I make sense of it in my own experience is that when we allow for others to translate the information, or when we allow for example, for Brown to turn it to dance, which, you know, transcends most languages, we create that opportunity for them to really create that ownership. We create that opportunity for them to take it and take it back to their own community and be able to share it with others. I think I'm really low on time, so to end, I guess, as we will, I think we're shifting into questions. So actually, I guess one thing I think that would be helpful on our end would be, or that would be useful for everybody, is if somebody, whether that's anybody who's related to POA, if you could talk about your experience in working with others in that translation process and sort of what it was like as an American to be teaching that and going through the translation process, and then also maybe if we could have another community member talk about what it was like to be a part of that translation process and bring it back to your own community and do that.
I want to get back to you, Sithembiso, because I think the work that you've been doing is astonishing. When you accepted to go to the school, and you saw that 50 of the girls were pregnant and HIV positive, you decided to ask to do, what do you call it here? Yes. Life orientation. And could you talk about, and then the next year, you said the next year there were 20 girls that were pregnant. So from 50 to 20 is quite striking. So I wanted you to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. I took the advantage that I am young, so these young souls can relate to me, and I can create an environment where we talk. You know. Also, I'm from a township environment. I'm in a very deeply rural environment, so I had to understand the cultural issues. You know, there were lots of cultural issues because even parents, they do permit sexual activities because they believe that a girl should bring a girl is the economy of the family. So a girl should get a marriage so that the core of the family will increase. So I wanted to open their minds, and also most of them are girls and boys who have never been out of Uganda. So I had to bring the world to them and make them understand that there's more to life than thinking about getting married, than thinking about waiting for a boy, because there's this culture that we are practicing as black people that at 13 a girl is allowed to have a boyfriend. So they say it's ugumisa idu. So as a girl at 13, if a boy comes and proposes love to you and you accept, you buy gifts for the boy's family, and you go with a white cloth, and you will place a pole with a white cloth, and officially you belong to that boy. He can do as he pleases to you. And if the boy decides to go to Johannesburg, go to Durban to look for employment, it's fine. But you as a girl, you have to wait for that boy. You have to take orders for that boy. Even your parents have no say over you. The boy is controlling you as a girl. So for me, it was a matter of opening their minds to really think of, these are the programs that we now have in our new democracy. So we've got funding for rural girls. We've got this for rural girls. Why don't you take opportunities for that? I know a friend whom I studied with at UniZulu. She studied without the blessings of her father. She completed her degree, got employment as a social worker, built the house for her father. And immediately after it was completed, the father took the hammer and demolished the house. And said that your duty as a girl is for you to go and get cows for me. I need cows from you, not this, because you are a girl. So that is what women are facing in our culture. So that is, I'm trying to influence their mentality that it's more to it, and that there's more in life than waiting for a girl, for a guy, and there's everything. Because also, emotionally, psychologically, you are being negatively affected. So I am happy that positive impact has been made, but I think I need to move out of Uganda before they kill me.
Hey.
My question was also to Sithembiso. I'm shocked to hear that in this day and age, in our democracy, we still have this very strong patriarchal society in the deep rural areas. And I'm asking two questions. Your experience is that as of now in 2015, with this young woman, educated woman who built the house for her father? That's the first question. And then second part, have you had any other wider resistance in the community to challenging the very strong patriarchal hold that is on some of these young girls? And I just really commend you for what you do, because I think it's just groundbreaking.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I would have mentioned the girl, but she has since passed on. She committed suicide. Because of, she lost the sense of belonging. So for her, I think that was the end of her world. Because she believed that by doing something good for her parents, they would eventually accept her, because as she was studying, they disowned her. So I have been called to a tribal court for ill, they said that I'm bringing ill teachings, because the men around Kandla still believe that a girl is the source of my economy. So a girl is the person to enlarge my core. So yes, she can go up to grade 12, but beyond there, she has to get married and bring me cattle. So that my core will enlarge, and you find families with saying that I've got more than 100 cattle, more than 1,000 sheep, more than 1,000 goats. But through the lobola and everything. So the problem is that we have two systems in our country. We have the constitutional system, which is equal to everyone, and we have the traditional system, and they are in conflict with each other. So you will see Zuma standing up, people will follow. You will see King Zwelithini standing up, you will see King Daliche standing up, and people will follow. So until these two systems until the people themselves decide that this is what we need for ourselves, then and decide the system that they want to follow for themselves, then we are going to achieve what we are to achieve as a country. So that is the problem with us. Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Thanks to all the panelists, and for Sithembiso, I mean, you're doing a great job. Of course, for somebody to care for others, especially our young girls, it really is something that we need to applaud, and it's something that we need to encourage. I'd say this, especially if it's been done by a young man who has each and every opportunity like in front of him to actually exploit the girls, you know. But it's the other way around. You want them to be those people, you want them to be empowered. But one comment would be, you just mentioned that you've been called to the tribal court. I mean, you know, I'm just thinking that most men who were there were like against what you were doing, but there could be 2 or 3 who were like, oh yeah, because I'm here, I have to agree with everyone. But this young man is doing a great job, you know. There's this with us who are doing community work. We normally say, I need to get a buy-in, you know. I need to get 1, 2, 3. I need to engage. I need to involve people in the community, which I think is something that is in your mind, something that you've tried. But hearing you saying, I need to get out of Uganda before they kill me, it's not coming out of nothing. It's because of your experiences there. And what I can say is, give it one more try. Speak to those leaders. Speak to like 2, 3 leaders there, and I'm sure that there are those that's like, yeah, but I mean, he's doing a very great job. But because of the influence around them, really, it's more like, speak to the mayor, speak to the coordinator there within Kanga municipality who's coordinating special programs. Speak to one person that is influential and an opinion person in the community. I'm sure there's something that you will achieve more than what you have already. Because at the end of the day, Kanga is not a unique case. I mean, on what you are saying, I mean, there are other areas. I'm working in a rural area. I'm from Kabisa myself, a rural area. And you know, those things, I mean, we're familiar with, but then there are things that we need to do ourselves so that we can win the battle. The systems are here, and they're not going to go away or be merged anytime soon. But I mean, the work that you are doing really strikes me in such a way that I need to go back where I come from. I need to work even more where I am right now, in terms of getting that buy-in, in terms of just targeting few opinion leaders in the area, and then speak to them, and even facilitate the module with them so that they understand even better. Not necessarily just this module, but more than that, because the work you're doing is more than the module, of which the module is the facilitator. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers and our panelists. We'll now be moving on to the next panel, experiential and service learning method, search,